It was our 5th anniversary, and Sarah insisted on going to Costello's, a very expensive Italian restaurant. I had hoped for something more personal, like the small pizza place where we had our first date, but she immediately rejected that idea. When we arrived at the restaurant, Sarah was in a good mood, mostly because I had just landed a big contract. I went to pay the bill at the front desk, a habit I developed after my card was once skimmed at a different restaurant. On my way back to the table, I had to pass behind a partition where Sarah and her Aunt Lisa were sitting. I overheard their conversation. "Does Jake still think you love him?" Lisa asked, her voice slightly slurred from drinking. I froze and listened closely. Sarah's answer was clear, with a smirk in her voice. "Of course. His credit is great. He pays for everything. Why would I leave?" They both laughed. Lisa said something else, but I couldn't hear it. Sarah replied, "Well, Mom and Dad were right about one thing. Marrying a tradesman means he'll always be too busy to notice what I'm doing." I stood there, completely still. I was exactly shocked. It felt more like confirmation. All the doubts and suspicions I had quietly held inside for years suddenly made sense. I walked back to the table, sat down, and finished my drink while they kept talking. Unaware I had overheard them. Sarah continued chatting about her day like nothing had happened. When we got home, she noticed I was quiet but didn't push for answers. "Just tired," I said, explaining I had a big project starting the next day. She nodded quickly and lost interest once she knew it wasn't about her. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made a plan. The next morning, I contacted my bank and credit card companies to remove Sarah as an authorized user, mentioning suspected fraudulent activity. By noon, I had called my lawyer, my accountant, and my business partner. That evening, I moved half of our joint savings into my own account and froze the rest. Sarah didn't notice anything was wrong that first day. She went about her usual routine, Pilates, lunch with friends, shopping. While I went to work like nothing had happened, I kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, and felt a strange sense of detachment, like it was too easy to pretend. 2 days later, Sarah tried to pay for a spa day with friends using my American Express card. It was declined. She tried another card, but it was declined too. Frustrated, she called me, her voice tight with controlled anger. "There's something wrong with the cards," she said. I stayed calm and replied, "That's strange." I asked her, sounding concerned, "I paid all the bills last week. What are you trying to buy?" "Just lunch," she lied. I saw the notification pop up on my phone. A $900 charge from a spa. "Can you call the bank?" she asked. "I'm in meetings all day, but I'll check tonight," I said calmly. She hesitated, realizing I knew more than I let on. She only had a personal card for emergencies, with a low limit since she had no income of her own. "Fine," she snapped before hanging up. 3 hours later, my phone buzzed nonstop with texts from Sarah, demanding to know why the joint checking account was frozen. I didn't respond. I was truly in meetings all day. By the time I finished, I had 27 missed calls and a voicemail from my lawyer, confirming that he had filed the preliminary divorce paperwork. I drove home, expecting Sarah to be there, angry and waiting with accusations. But the house was empty. The doorbell camera showed she had left 2 hours earlier with 3 suitcases, heading straight to her parents' house. The next morning, Lisa called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "What have you done?" "What did Sarah tell you?" she demanded, her voice thick with emotion. "She said you lost your mind, froze all the accounts, cut off her cards. Some kind of male midlife crisis." Lisa's outrage sounded rehearsed, like she had done this before, always taking Sarah aside. "Did she happen to mention our anniversary dinner? Your little chat at the table?" I asked coldly. There was a brief silence, then a shaky breath. "You heard every word, Jake. We were just talking. Sometimes women say things they don't mean." "Save it, Lisa." I interrupted. "I've already filed for divorce. Sarah can contact my lawyer if she needs anything." "You're making a terrible mistake," she said, but her voice had lost its strength. "Sarah loves you. She's just complicated." "No," I replied. She's actually very simple once you understand her motivations. Tell her thanks for the clarity, I said, and hung up. Then I blocked both Lisa and Sarah's numbers. As I expected, the situation escalated. Sarah's father called my business partner, threatening to ruin us unless I fixed things. I received a letter from a divorce attorney known for aggressively representing wealthy clients, demanding immediate restoration of Mrs. Harrison's lifestyle. Sarah even sent a mutual friend to my office, hoping to appeal to my emotions. None of them knew how prepared I was. My lawyer countered with evidence of Sarah's spending habits, her lack of contributions to the household and my business, and records of large transfers she had secretly made to her personal account. After that, the tone shifted dramatically. Sarah's lawyer requested a meeting downtown. When I finally saw Sarah again, she looked flawless, but her eyes were cold and calculating. "This is unnecessary," she said without meeting my eyes. "We can fix this without lawyers. I prefer having witnesses to our conversations from now on," I replied, my voice calm but firm. Her attorney cleared his throat and said, "My client is willing to consider a fair settlement that acknowledges her contributions to your success." Patricia, my no-nonsense lawyer, slid a document across the table. "My client has already outlined what he considers fair, given the short duration of the marriage and the documented evidence of financial impropriety. We believe this offer is more than generous." Sarah snatched up the paper, reading it. Her confusion quickly turned to outrage. "This is insulting," she hissed. 5 years of my life, and you offer me less than I had before we met." That's when I finally spoke directly to her. "Before we met, you at least had a job and the respect of working for something," I said. "Consider this an opportunity to find that person again." Sarah snapped, "Your business would be nothing without my connections." "Actually," I said, "I've analyzed our client acquisition data. Less than 8% came through your network, and those clients had the lowest retention rate. But thanks for your concern about my business." Her lawyer whispered something to her, and she shook her head firmly. "We'll need time to consider this offer," he said diplomatically. "Of course," Patricia replied. "But I should mention, my client has extensive documentation regarding Mrs. Harrison's spending habits, including some interesting purchases made on weekends she claimed to be with family." Sarah's head snapped up. "What does that mean?" she demanded. I hadn't told my lawyer everything, but she was sharp enough to notice the patterns. Weekend charges that matched social media posts featuring a certain male friend. "It means fighting this will be more expensive and more embarrassing than accepting the settlement," I said as I gathered my things. "Your call." As we left, Sarah called after me. "You wouldn't even have met the Brightons without me, or the Winstons. You think you did all this by yourself." I turned back and met her gaze. "You know what's funny? I used to give you credit for believing in me. Now I realize you just saw me as a stock to invest in. Your mistake was selling too early." 3 weeks later, Sarah signed the settlement agreement. She got less than 15% of our assets, enough to live comfortably if she was careful. I kept the house, the business, and most importantly, my peace of mind. The day after everything was finalized, Lisa texted me from a new number. "You were smarter than the others." She miscalculated. I didn't even need to ask what she meant by the others. I simply replied, "No, her biggest mistake was thinking money was all I cared about." It's been 2 months now. The business is thriving. Turns out clients prefer working directly with me rather than through Sarah's network. I've heard from mutual friends that Sarah is living in her parents' guest house, telling anyone who will listen that I had a breakdown and ruined a perfect marriage. Maybe in her mind it was perfect. She got the lifestyle she wanted, and all it cost was pretending to love someone. But here's what Sarah never understood. I didn't build a successful business by being naive or sentimental. I built it by paying attention to details, recognizing patterns, and knowing when to cut my losses. I applied those same principles to my marriage. I just wish I had done it sooner. Last week, I donated all of Sarah's remaining things to a women's shelter. As I dropped off the last box, one of the volunteer coordinators asked if I considered joining their fundraising committee. They needed help planning a renovation for their facilities. "We're getting coffee next week to talk about it," Nothing fancy, just two people discussing something that actually matters. For the first time in years, I'm looking forward to a conversation that has nothing to do with status, money, or appearances. It turns out clarity is the most expensive thing I've ever paid for, and worth every penny.